Welcome back to Balls and All here on Mix 104.9. You're listening to Jacko, and across the studio from me is the one and only Jacob Andre, as always, every Sunday morning. Now, speaking of mornings, Jacob, I'm very interested to know your morning routine. So before you come in, what do you do in the morning? I'll tell you what I do, Jacob. I set my alarm. I set two alarms, right, because I'm the most unmorning person you will ever meet. I set one alarm at 7:20, the other one at 7:21. And basically stumble around like a zombie. I live in the northern suburbs, so it takes me roughly 15 minutes to get here. And basically no breakfast, so I come straight in. Normally off about 3 or 4 hours sleep on a Sunday morning. Tonight I think I had about 3.5 hours sleep maybe. I'm not sure why I was up so late, but there you have it. Jacob, firstly, rate my morning out of 10 in regards to health and what the day should look like. And secondly, tell me about what you do to prepare for a show like Balls and All.
I don't think it's too bad.
But no
maybe,
breakfast, 3 hours sleep's not too bad?
The sleep's probably not very good, so 4. But not having breakfast is not a bad thing, and there's an argument out there now for fasting and not eating breakfast. And a colleague of mine who's from Melbourne has just written a book, what's it called? Start Late, Stay Light.
That's like that intermittent fasting type stuff
Yeah.
we're talking about, yeah.
And so he doesn't actually eat until about 2 o'clock. So all his eating is done between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. And, and that's essentially what breakfast is, break fast. So break the fast. I don't think you need to go that long. I think the fact that you probably haven't eaten for, 8 to 10 hours is breaking the fast, is essentially a fasting. But it's, I've done it before. Since I've changed my diet to be more, not paleo, but paleo inspired. So it's more about lots of vegetables as well as, organic, where it can be, meat, as well as like omelets and things like that. Like I can easily go until lunchtime now and not feel hungry and get to lunchtime and then eat at lunchtime. But this guy, he does it all the time. And then when he does start to eat, so when I eat in the mornings, it'll be an omelet or a smoothie bowl. But when he eats, it'll be like an apple or something. So I think, there's an argument for it. So it's not such a bad thing that you're not having breakfast. Depends on what you're having is what really matters.
What's the point of intermittent fasting? Like, obviously, without going too much into it, I'm not sure whether you do know a lot about it, but what can you tell us about the premise behind intermittent fasting? Because it is a strange concept for people that grow up, and a lot of people, this sort of scientific stuff gets passed around from person to person, and sometimes there's so much contradicting stuff out there. I know if you told, there's probably, people out there, if you told their grandparents, no, actually, see, breakfast isn't that good for you, or you don't need breakfast, they'd say, oh, stupid, Sonny, of course it is. You know what I mean? So what is the background to intermittent fasting?
Unfortunately, and I really hate to admit this, but I don't really know, and I don't want to say on air without really knowing, so I want to have a look at the research. But I would imagine it's got something to do with the fact that, evolution, and people would have said, their argument would be, for people who believe this, that we didn't eat at set times of the day and so on, and so, we didn't eat breakfast back in 10,000 years ago in the caveman era or whatever, and so that's the way I'm going to eat now. Because you hear that with the paleo world a little bit, that this is how we used to eat 10,000 years ago. So I'm not really too sure. I don't really want to comment on it without knowing too much, but I'll definitely look it up and I'll answer that question next week.
Thanks, Jacob. I'm very interested also to know how much time you give yourself in the morning. So I used to take great pride. I used to work at Wallagi Primary School, great people. And basically I started work at 10:40 and I would set my alarm. So the first time I would see the light of day would be 10:28. So I could make it to work waking up 12 minutes before I was supposed to start. So basically that would require a 1 or 2 minute shower, maybe not even a shower because I'd shower the night before. I'd have my clothes on the bed, what I was going to wear, like it would be basic stuff. I'm working at a primary school, not really trying to impress anyone. So put the clothes on straight away, have an up and go for breakfast, and I'd normally be ready to drive to work at about 10:35, so I give myself 7 minutes, and I lived about a minute or two away. And if I'm being completely honest, I was probably about 30 seconds late every time I walked through the door, and that's probably being kind. But Jacob, you have how many kids under the age of 5 or 6 do you have in the house? Like that must alter what time you wake up and how much time you give yourself in the morning?
There's 4 of them, so 6, 5, 3, and 1. And I've got a very, very good partner, and they've got a very, very good mother. So we're very supportive in the mornings, and we don't actually spend any extra time, I don't think, getting them ready. But I'm not a fan of the up and go. I think that's somewhere where you could improve your morning routine. There's a lot of sugar in that. But
yeah, I've gone off them since then.
but so for example, so with mine, like this morning, I had to set several alarms this morning, and normally I do. When I was getting up to do morning sessions with the Institute of Sport, I was having to set 5 alarms, so there'd be one going off at 5, 5:02, 5:04, 5:06, 5:08, and then I had another one at 5:30 just as like a safety backup in case I'd turned all of them off.
I do that as well. I call it like my worst case scenario valve, like as in you like suggest it and you think, for example, if I have to go on there at 8 o'clock here, it'd be like, what's the latest possible time if disaster struck I could still maybe make it? That'd be about 7:40, 7:45. So is that sort of what you're talking about?
Yeah, well, I did that this morning, so I don't know how you managed to get here before me, getting up at 7:20. I got up at 7 o'clock. I had an alarm at 7 o'clock, 7:02 and 7:04 this morning, and I had my worst case scenario alarm for 7:15, and I was out of bed I think at probably about 7:08 or 7:10. Normally I don't have breakfast before I come in here, but normally I will have a shower and brush my teeth before I come in, but I didn't this morning because I knew I'd be too tired. I didn't get to sleep until 2:30 last night after going home after last night's game and sitting up and watching, Fox Footy. I wanted to watch a couple of games there, and I wanted to watch a bit of our YouTube game. And so I knew I'd be struggling, so I thought, no shower tomorrow, no brushing teeth, I'll just go straight in. I have been buying a coffee on the way in, which I did this morning. But that's not, whether I do or don't, that's no big issue. But yeah, so for me on the Sunday mornings, that's my normal routine, and then I'll go and have breakfast when I get home, and it'll usually be an omelette. Like I said, for breakfast every morning I'll either have an omelette or I will have a smoothie bowl if I don't have as much time. But never anymore will I eat cereal out of packet. So, but when it's a normal weekday, we'll wake up at 7 o'clock. I'll just have, actually, my partner's got her alarm, so I didn't even set my alarm anymore. So her alarm goes off at 7 o'clock. We just have that one alarm, and that's not a problem. The kids are normally awake, around 7 o'clock anyway, so we don't really need those several alarms. And we found that actually, for me especially, it works well. So I've talked previously about sleep, and it's not just about how much sleep, but the quality of sleep you get. And as part of that quality of sleep, it's all about the time of day you're sleeping. So I know that I wake up feeling phenomenal if I sleep from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. I can move that sort of half an hour to an hour either side, but if it's within that kind of half an hour of 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., then I will wake up feeling fantastic, and I will naturally wake up anyway. So then when we get up, I will then start preparing my omelette. So I'll start making that, and it doesn't take me very long. It's just 3 eggs and 3 different vegetables that I chuck in with some coconut oil, and hopefully I'll have some meat, but often I don't, because we won't have it in the fridge. But if we're lucky, if Holly's gone and bought some bacon, I'll maybe chop up some bits of bacon and chuck that in there as well, and that helps to fill me up a bit. But the first thing I'll do when I do get up out of bed, apart from going to the toilet, is to go and we've got all these Tupperware 1 litre bottles in our fridge, and I'll grab one of them out and I'll drink that while I'm eating my omelette. And what I've found now is, and again, I've talked about this previously, with routines and habits, it's now started to become a habit where if I don't, so drinking the 1 litre of water is a routine, but it's becoming a habit because I start to feel funny now if I haven't had that 1 litre of water. Like, I kind of feel dried out inside. And my theory for that is really funny. So when I was about 15, I was flicking through some magazine, I don't know what it was, let's just say it was Women's Day. And,
So weekly.
Yeah, and there was an article there with Elle Macpherson, and I was reading this article, and she said that part of her morning routine was to drink 1 litre of water every single morning, and that was her theory for having, the beautiful lush skin that she had, and that was her secret to health. And so I thought, well, if it works for Elle, then it can work for me. So I started doing it, and I've gone away from it over the years because, that was I'm just having a bit of a worrisome thought now. That's probably like 20 years ago. But Yeah, so and it's become more of a routine in the last few years again where I do that, and so, but I just feel great, and the reason for it is you're flushing your system. You haven't drunk anything for the last 6 to 10 hours, so your body's a little bit dehydrated. So you're hydrating your body, you're flushing it out, so you're clearing out toxins. You generally need to go to the toilet, like about an hour after that, which is good for you. And your cells are primarily made of water, and your whole body is made up of cells. There's millions of them in your body, and so when your cells are hydrated, they actually become bigger and full. And when your cells become dehydrated, they sort of shrivel up and they shrink and they don't work as well. So it's kind of like cells are kind of like a battery, and if they're charged up, and the way to charge a cell is through hydration, then they start to work at 100% capacity. So you can imagine running something which requires millions of batteries and having those batteries operate at varying degrees of lower charge, from 20% through to 50% and so on. But if every cell is charged up at 100%, then how good are you going to feel? And that's the way I feel when I have my 1 litre of water.
Very good, Jacob. We definitely did go on a bit of a tangent there. So it started with good intentions, talking about morning routines, and suddenly we're talking about cells and batteries and a few things that went over my head. But we love your expertise as always, Jacob.